My sisters and brothers, when we speak about the whispers of Shaitaan, we often imagine something loud and obvious. But in reality, his tactics are much more subtle, much more deceptive. He doesn't come to you wearing horns or dragging chains. He doesn't shout, he whispers. And that whisper is so quiet, so soft, that if you are not attentive to your heart and your mind, you might not even notice it. That is the nature of waswasas, the whispering of Shaitaan. It creeps in slowly. It disguises itself as your own thought. It feels familiar, even natural. And before you know it, you're entertaining ideas that pull you away from Allah, from your purpose, and from peace. Shaitaan has been around since the creation of Adam, Arabic kin, Arabica, 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 Arabic alif, Arabic lam, Arabic sin, Arabic lam, Arabic alif, Arabic meen. He knows human beings better than we know ourselves. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't take breaks. And his mission is clear, to lead as many of us astray as he can before the day of judgment. That's why he doesn't always try to make you fall into major sin right away. He starts small. Just a whisper, just a doubt, just a delay. Just a delay. And he knows if he can get you to take that first step, then the second one will be easier. And the third even easier. Until eventually you're looking back wondering how you drifted so far from where you were. Sometimes the whisper is so well crafted that it looks like wisdom. It sounds like concern. You might hear in your mind, why do you bother praying when you know you're going to sin again later? Or, Allah is most merciful, it's okay to do this just once. These aren't just random thoughts, they're engineered to strike exactly where your weaknesses lie. Shaitaan doesn't use the same trick on everyone. He studies your heart. If he sees pride in you, he'll feed that. If he sees insecurity, he'll play on that. If you're inclined to anger, he'll ignite it. If you're inclined to laziness, he'll magnify it. He tailors the whisper to fit you like a key fits a lock. One of the most dangerous things about his whispering is that it feels so internal. It feels like you. That's how he operates. He doesn't need to possess you or take control. He just needs to plant the thought. And once the seed is planted, your own nafs, the lower self, can take it from there. Shaitan knows he can't make you sin, so he whispers. And your nafs, if it's unguarded, acts. That's why we were taught by the Prophet Letfi to constantly seek protection from the evil of the whisperer who whispers into the hearts of mankind. Min shari al-waswas al-khanas. Because he comes and goes. When you remember Allah, he retreats. When you forget, he returns. Sometimes it's not even about sin. Sometimes the whisper is just meant to distract you from your purpose. You sit down to read Qur'an and suddenly your mind is filled with random thoughts. You stand for prayer and suddenly you remember all the tasks you forgot to do during the day. That's not a coincidence. That's deliberate. Shaitaan doesn't want you to be spiritually nourished. He wants you to stay distracted, exhausted, and disconnected. Because he knows the power of your connection to Allah. He knows the strength that lies in a believer who is focused. So he works overtime to make sure that focus never comes. Other times the whisper is more harmful. It plants seeds of envy, suspicion, or arrogance. You might start thinking, oh, why does she always get the attention? Oh, he doesn't deserve that job. It starts small, just a flicker of emotion. But if you don't catch it, it grows. And soon you find yourself backbiting, comparing, and poisoning your own heart. That was never your intention. But the whisper planted it and your silence watered it. That's why we are told to purify our hearts constantly. Because Shaitan always looks for an entry point. And a dirty heart gives him easy access. At times his whisper even disguises itself as religiosity. He makes someone feel overly confident in their piety. He tells them you're better than them. Look how much more you pray. Look how you dress. They don't even try. And now what started as an act of worship becomes a door to arrogance. This is one of his oldest tricks, to ruin a good deed by corrupting the intention behind it. So even when you're doing something good, you can't let your guard down. Because he whispers from every angle before the act, during the act, and even after the act. The danger lies not just in what the whisper leads to, but in how unnoticed it can go. It's so quiet that unless you're actively doing tikkor, unless you're spiritually awake, you won't even register it. You'll think it's your own thoughts. You'll think it's your own logic, your own emotions. But it isn't. It's a voice from the shadows, nudging you just slightly off the path, hoping that over time you'll drift so far you can't find your way back. That's why awareness is key. That's why reflection is necessary. If you don't take time to sit with yourself and examine your thoughts, your choices, your intentions, then Shaitan wins quietly. And we have to understand, Shaitan doesn't rest just because you repented. In fact, the moment you decide to turn back to Allah, he intensifies his efforts. That's when the whispers come harder. He tells you it's too late. Or he tells you you're only doing this to feel better. Or worse, you'll never change. And if you listen even for a moment, that whisper can lead to despair. And despair is one of his most powerful weapons. Because when a believer loses hope in the mercy of Allah, he's already defeated. Shaitan wants you to feel like a hypocrite every time you try to become better. Because he knows that if he can make you give up on yourself, you'll give up on your journey to Allah. So the next time a thought crosses your mind that makes you feel hopeless, that makes you question your worth, that tries to isolate you or make you delay a good deed, pause, reflect. Ask yourself, would Allah want me to feel this way? If the answer is no, then recognize that thought for what it is, a whisper, and whispers have no power when you refuse to give them a home in your heart. Every time we choose to remember Allah, every time we speak His name, every time we resist that whisper and say, A'udhu billahi min ash-shaitanir rajim, we're not just defending ourselves, we're declaring war, a war against the silent enemy. A war that's fought not on battlefields but in the spaces between our thoughts. And the believer who understands this becomes stronger, more conscious, more resilient. Because once you know how your enemy works, you can't be fooled by his tricks again. And once you place your trust in Allah, no whisper can reach deep enough to shake you. So be alert, be consistent, and never forget that the one who created you is greater than the one who whispers to destroy you.